Hello, and welcome to another installment of Shally's Alley. Today, we are beginning a new series. I kind of got uh, a I guess, a wind of fresh air or whatever you want to call it when I did the phone sourcing and then the cold calling right after that. And so that gave me a good idea that I should just kind of do some series or rather mini series. So we start with one of my absolute favorite and probably one of the most misunderstood concepts in sourcing, custom search engines. And in particular, the series is going to focus on Google custom search engines. So what we're going to cover today is basically how does it get started, the setup, a little bit about what it is, what it's for, and what the different components are, so you can understand and it kind of demystify, because it does get a little bit, people look at the beginning of it and just kind of scratch their heads, or they get frustrated, or they try to do something with it and then it doesn't bring back really good results. So I want to eliminate all that by just breaking it down really, really simply, really frankly, so that you can just get one set up in literally 5 minutes. I mean, it probably even takes you less than 5 minutes if you have a couple of websites that you want to search. So the basic principle is this: a custom search engine is a slice of the web. It is a small piece of internet, or websites rather, that you want to search using, in particular, the Google search engine. So with that in mind, the most important thing to start out with, of course, is a website, some kind of website that you want to search. Now, in the beginning, this might seem like, oh, well, I can do that with the Google site command. Yes, that is true. You can definitely do it with the Google site command, but you can only do that with one website. You wouldn't be able to do that with multiple websites. And even though you might put them into an or statement where you might have site 1 or site 2, that actually doesn't work on Google. It looks like it does, but it doesn't. And you really are better off if you're going to have just 2 or 3 to put them into a custom search engine. So rather than, save yourself some time and effort. And there's also a great deal of additional benefits to using the custom search engine for the websites that you want to search. What are the benefits? Well, the benefits are that you can specify which websites. You can open it to all of the websites and reinforce or rank higher the results from your websites that you want to search. And you can create your own synonyms, your own dictionary, so that when you type in one keyword, it expands to include all the other keywords in that definition. So those are some pretty good search reasons to use the custom search engine. But if you need more, I'll give you a couple more. For example, you could also use customized labels or refinements. In other words, kind of like folders, where in one custom search engine, you can have a folder for social profiles, another folder for competitors, etc. And you can even add additional search criteria to that behind the scenes, so that people that are using it don't even have to think about it. And this is, even if you're just using it for yourself, you won't even have to think about what's going on in the background. So the best thing to do is probably start with pretty much the starting page. Let me go ahead and get this going here and go to my browser window. There you go. I hope this is showing up. Yep, there it is. Now, I've got a couple of examples up here, but what you're going to do is you're just going to go to Google. I'm going to Google custom search engine, google.com/CSE for custom search engine. That's it. When you go there, let me do this as an anonymous user so that you can see if this is the first time that you are going to a custom search engine, what it would look like. Once you arrive here, just click the Get Started button. You do need to have a Google account, and it could be any of your accounts that are registered for Google, or it can be a Gmail account, or if you already have Google Apps, no problem. Then once you enter in your Google account, or if you don't have one, go ahead and create a new one. Oops. I forgot my password. There we go. Then you'll see your list. Or if you don't have a list, it'll just have a button that says Start Now. Now we're back to over here. So I'm going to go to google.com, CSE, and arrive at my index of all of this different search engines. Yeah, I know you're looking at this list going, oh my God. And believe it or not, I actually have several other accounts, like the Gmail one that you just saw. I know I have a problem. I'm a little addicted to custom search engines. And what can I say? So let's start one. The very, very first thing that you're going to do to start one is click on the add. Before you do that, you need to have a website, just one website, in order to get started. Not sure exactly what that was, but here we go. So we're back to the beginning. We start out with enter a site and click create. That's pretty much it. Now, there are a couple of nuances to it. For example, the language, which we'll talk about. And the name of it doesn't really matter as long as it's a name that you remember. For now, let's say that you want to use this to search LinkedIn. So you can just put in linkedin.com. If you want only the quote unquote United States content, then www.linkedin. And it should eliminate most of the non-US profiles that start with a subcountry or a subdomain country. So we'll just, leave it right now for international. You can add other websites here. It'll just add another row if you want. And then change the language to whatever your local language is. This is so that you don't get results in other languages. And you can name it something. So let's call this basic LinkedIn search. And that's it. You're done. Click on create, and you've actually made your very first custom search engine. The next thing you want to do is go to the control panel. That's the third button here. The control panel is where you edit your custom search engine, where you customize it, where you add things to it. So that's the next thing that we're going to do. Don't worry about the get code. We can do that later. The public URL is where you're going to go to use the search engine. And again, we don't really want to do that yet because we're not done building it. So we're going to go to the control panel. And you can see here, I carried over the search engine name. And a couple of other things have been created, including the public URL. So here's where we start to make some decisions. The description is really only for you. So, this is Shally's demo LinkedIn search. Whatever you put in here is really not going to be visible to anybody but you and admins. Keywords are important because what keywords do is they have an effect on the ranking of results. Whatever keywords you put in here are going to make those pages come up higher on results. It will not eliminate any searches. It'll just reinforce those keywords in your search. So if this is a search that you're going to use for a particular type of professional, software engineer, developer, something like that, you could do that. In this case, it's a LinkedIn profile. So unless I have a specific flavor, I'm probably not going to add anything to it right now. I can show you some examples where that does matter. Nothing to do with addition, nothing to do with search engine ID, but you do need to decide if you want to include images. For LinkedIn, we don't need that, but for one of the other search engines that I'm going to show you, you can turn it on. And you need to decide if you want safe search on or off. Doesn't really matter. It's just going to eliminate some garbage content. And since we're only searching LinkedIn, again, it doesn't apply. If you were to open this to search the entire web, then you might want to turn safe search on. It looks like I'm getting a message that my video is frozen. Let's see what's going on here. Is it back? Is it back yet? It's been a while. Okay, well, I can rewind. Hopefully the recording will be available. Apologies for that, but I'm not seeing that is it streaming now or not? Still frozen. Okay. Well, that might be an internet issue. Let me try to reconnect to my network here. So hopefully you can hear me. If you can hear me, at least we can talk about this. But what's going on right now is I am trying to disconnect and reconnect one of my connections to see if I can get an increase in speed. And it looks like it might have worked. So hopefully that solved the problem temporarily. Going back to our topic, and I'll share the screen again in just a minute. But going back to our topic, I'm just going to do a quick recap. What I've done so far is just gone to google.com CSE and started a brand new search engine by entering in just the LinkedIn website, and really haven't done much else. That's as far as we got. I mentioned that we can turn on image search and safe search, but I haven't really actually done any of the customizations or any of the other things. So hopefully my video is going to return to normal here in a minute. And when it does, I should be able to share my screen again. Someone said, at least I froze with a good pose. That's hilarious. Okay. Thank you so much for that. You made my day. All right. Well, I guess you can see me now, if I'm not mistaken, hopefully. Yes? No? This is awkward. Just tested my internet speed, and it is pretty fast. So I think my network is back up. I'm going to proceed as if it were. Apologies if you don't see it, then we'll have to look back at the recording. But honestly, you really didn't miss all that much. I was just introducing how to get started, so you're not missing a ton of stuff yet. All right, back to our content. The next thing that you want to do is make some decisions about what type of search engine this is going to be. This is one of the biggest. This is the key decision, really. It is reversible. In other words, you can change the decision later. You can always, do something different with it. So it's not like it's a permanent decision, but you do want to consider carefully whether or not you plan on using this for a very specific limited type of search or for a broader search, because this is where that difference begins. So let me just reshare my screen again and put it up here. All right. What I'm talking about is whether or not you search the entire web. So at the very beginning, when we start with the basics, we see the search engine name that we created, description, image and safe search, region, which you can change to United States, and it will increase the content accuracy, or you can change to whatever country you're in, but you don't really have to have that. So I'm going to go ahead and include it, even though, for this is kind of a LinkedIn worldwide search. So it sort of defeats the purpose, but you can turn this on and off at any time. Below that, you'll see the sites to search, which we only have LinkedIn at this time. That's where there's that search the entire web. Right now, all of this search engine is going to do is search inside of LinkedIn, or the LinkedIn domain right here. If I turn this on, then it will give preference to LinkedIn profiles, but it will search everything that's in the Google index. And we have no refinements or labels or anything else. So it's pretty much no different than going to regular Google, except you remove some of the limitations. If we were to test this out right now and just do a plain old search for, let's say, tax manager, you'll notice that it's going to come back and bring results that are profiles and probably all kinds of other things, no different than when you went to Google and typed in site:linkedin.com. But if I open this up to the entire web, the difference is going to be very noticeable. Now we'll do tax manager. Again, hit enter, and you can see it's now bringing back Glassdoor and PayScale and all kinds of other, GitLab, things that I don't really want. So you've basically exclude all that by searching only these websites. Okay. You can add other websites as well. You could make this a social search by adding all the other Zing and Viadeo and all those others as well. But right now, we're going to stick to just the basics so you can see how this works. For those of you that are out there and want to test it as we go along, this right here is the public URL. So you can actually go and use this search engine right now as I'm working on it live. Let me put it into, I think I can put it into the chat right here. I may not be able to publish that. It looks like it went to Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook, but not LinkedIn. So hopefully somebody can republish it on LinkedIn. Glenn, if you could republish that to LinkedIn for me, I would really appreciate it. All right. So now let's start making some customizations just on this. And this is so I can explain kind of the basics, right? For this, we're going to go to search features. From the beginning, we're at setup, and we're going to go to search features. This is where we add the two types of content that I want to talk about in future sessions. So on our next session, we'll focus a lot on refinements, and then we'll focus a lot on synonyms on a section after that. But I just want to show you what these are. A refinement is either a label or a folder, or it is a category of website. It doesn't really matter. They're called refinements either way. Let's add one just so you can see. The first refinement, of course, will be LinkedIn. And for this, we're going to choose search only the sites with this label. For a different kind of refinement that's a label, we're going to give priority to the sites with the label, and then we're not going to search just one or a series of websites. We're going to search with keywords, but we'll get into that on the next session. Let's search only the sites with this label, and I'm going to turn facet on so that in the future, when I have more than one website, it'll show me which websites or which refinements the search is bringing back so I can focus in on them. It's a very informative tool. And on another episode, we'll talk about the knowledge graph entities so that we can take advantage of those entities for additional refinements. For now, though, we're just going to create one label called LinkedIn and hit OK. And then let's create another label that's a different kind of label. This one is give priority to the sites with this label. And for this one, we're going to call this tax or tax people, perhaps. And I'm not going to turn on refinements for that. But I'm going to use the optional words. And here's where you can put a search string. So, for example, you can do tax manager or manager of tax or director of tax or tax director. I'm just going to stop here for now because we're going to get into this a lot more later on. But I want to show you the difference between the two. Okay, saving that one. And now we have two refinements. Let's see what happens when we do a search for just, let's say, manager. We've reverted back to LinkedIn only. But now you see there's these two tabs. For those of you following at home, you can click on that public URL and you'll be able to see this. LinkedIn will search only LinkedIn websites, and tax will search the entire web, but it will search for the words tax manager, tax director. See the difference? Okay, so let's go back to our setup. And we're going to add that refinement called LinkedIn to this website so that when we click on that, it's going to search only that. Watch what happens. Remember before, when we clicked on LinkedIn, there was nothing. Now it's going to come up because now we're refining it to just LinkedIn. And tax will be just LinkedIn, but with the tax manager phrases that we included. Okay, we'll do a lot more with that later. The next piece, back to search features, is going to be synonyms. Synonyms is where you can define your own dictionary. Let's add one synonym and see what happens. For this, let's add the synonym of, very basic one, let's just do the names of cities, for example. There are many different ways that we can use synonyms: geographies, job titles, company names. We'll do a city and we'll do company names. Okay, the first one will be Atlanta, of course, my favorite city. But Atlanta isn't just Atlanta, is it? It could also be Duluth. It could also be Roswell, Alpharetta, Norcross, Peachtree Corners, Peachtree City. Yep, we have a Peachtree City, and on and on and on. I could think of, Tucker, and on and on. You don't need Boolean syntax or Boolean logic, just commas between the words, and it understands that these are all synonyms of the word Atlanta. Let's go ahead and add that. And now let's add another synonym for, let's say, companies. So these will be tax co's. It looks like tacos, doesn't it? Let me do tax companies, all like that. And for here, we can use the names or the synonyms of companies that do, tax auditing and things like that. So we can do PwC, Price Waterhouse, Price Waterhouse, Deloitte, KPMG. Let's do Grant Thornton. I hope I spelled that correctly. Somebody please. and on and on. Okay, so that's just tax companies. Now we have these two. Let's try it out. If we go to our search to test it out and we use Atlanta and search, included in my search will be the word Atlanta along with all the other words as synonyms for that word. Unfortunately, I didn't include Georgia. So for this, we would probably want to add additional refinements to make sure that we're including Atlanta, Georgia, because Roswell could be in Arizona, Tucker and Duluth can be in other states. Let's also try tax companies. Now, this is a nonsense word. You're not going to find results. Well, you might find results with tax companies, but you shouldn't be finding a lot. For us, though, this is expanding to all the names of those companies that we included before. This will make a lot more sense once we move along a little bit. Okay, let's go back to our search features and, to our setup and take a look at a couple of other things. So one of the problems that you're noticing already is that when you search all of LinkedIn, it's really no different than if I did site:/LinkedIn.com. That's horrible. LinkedIn.com, there we go. It's no different than if I searched for that, which is going to bring me all kinds of stuff. And many of you already know that you need to add something in order to get just profiles. There's different /pub or /in. Those are not terribly accurate, but they do work. And we can do that with custom search engines. But we can also do it by adding refinements and several other ways. Depends on what your ultimate objective is. Let's see, for example, if we searched only in, and let's add, we can take a look at this profile right here, Lex Friedman. So when I clicked on it, it logged me into this person's profile. Inside of LinkedIn, as long as I'm logged in. If I'm not logged in, it would show you the public profiles. So for that purpose, let me see if I can actually grab this here, copy link address, and hopefully it's not going to bark at me when I do this. But I'm going to try to do an incognito window. And I don't have my stop the overlay button on here, do I? I don't. Okay. Extensify. I would have to add an extension to this today. Sorry about that. Okay. Turn on behind the overlay. Oh, wait. Okay, that's the wrong one. Yeah. Okay. Never mind. I can't show you that because I don't have behind the overlay installed and I don't want to go through all that. But basically, when we open this and we're not logged in, you see the public profiles. So what I could do simply is just log out of LinkedIn. That would be an easy solution. Let's try that again. And I'll just log out so you can see the difference. And we're slowing down again. Don't see why. Just had a really super high speed and now it's loading really, really slowly. Why does this always happen when I'm on video? That's probably why, because I'm on video. That makes sense. Okay, I'm gonna log out or sign out. And now when I go back and click on that search result, it shouldn't log me in because I've signed out. So now I can see the quote unquote public view. It still wants me to sign in. It's trying to force me to sign in. But this is where you can use the behind the overlay, which I think I turned off. There it is. And you can remove, this is a app from the Chrome store. No overlay, okay. All right, well, anyway, wasting too much time on this. So I'm just gonna go back to our search engine and give you the answer rather than demonstrate it. There's two ways you could do it. As I mentioned before, you can add the in, and you could do that here. But if you did that, you would have to also add the other one, which is pub. That's okay, we can do that as well. So now we'll add linkedin.com pub, and make sure you also add this to the LinkedIn label. So now we've eliminated all the content that is not either pub or in, and let's try the search again. Just using manager because I'm gonna do text manager in a minute. Now you'll notice that these are all profiles. And if I click on LinkedIn, pretty much still the same results. But if I click on tax, I'm gonna get a slightly different, more accurate, because this is adding the tax manager, tax director, etc. Hence the advantage of the synonyms. Once again, we're gonna cover synonyms in depth, and we're gonna cover refinements in depth, do a real deep dive on it. I just wanted to get you set up so you can start with this. And here's the link for those of you that wanna play along at home. The other way to do it would be to use refinements or labels and eliminate profiles that are, eliminate LinkedIn pages that are not profiles. So instead of just using LinkedIn as a label that searches only the sites with this label, we can actually add optional words here and use the words that are on a public profile. For example, people you know, and so on. There's lots of different words that are on a public profile. I'm just going to try that one, save it. For those of you that have other ways to do the same thing, great, we can do that too. Now I'm going to do Atlanta and tax companies. Hit search. Here's our regular LinkedIn. It is using the synonyms, but now I'm going to go to tax and do the same thing. And the results are much more accurate, much more accurate. It's taking advantage of the label as well as the refinement. See how that works? So for those of you at home, try playing around with those and you can see the difference. I'm going to remove that because I don't want to limit it to just that, since I did in and pub already. It's kind of it's overkill. I'm going to eliminate way too many results. We could do it perhaps by adding a different label, And we would add all the different keywords that are on the profile. So now we've talked about refinements and synonyms, and we've talked about sites. If we wanted to extend this out beyond LinkedIn, we can add other sites. For example, I have a spreadsheet of hundreds of, it's actually 1,800 different websites, and they're labeled by the type of website. So let's say that we wanted to do a search for diversity. Let me select the diversity websites. These are all the websites for diversity. I don't know how many there are, 83 of them. Here's the cool thing. You can just copy this from your spreadsheet and paste it directly into add websites in bulk. So instead of adding one website at a time, when you click add, let me repeat that right here, you click on include sites in bulk, then just paste from your spreadsheet. Now, unfortunately, what you noticed is I think the keywords got copied over. I don't know why that happened. No, I didn't. Okay, that's interesting. There's a bunch of quotation marks on there that aren't supposed to be there. So if you're going to do this, make sure you remove them. I don't know why they're showing up. Let me see if I can get rid of them another way. Nope, they're still there. That's interesting. Try one just to see what happens. Well, there you go. Not exactly sure why it is including those quotations. So my workaround for that is going to be to use Notepad. And most of you, actually everybody has Notepad on their computer. You can also use other note-taking apps, but it's still in there. Wow, okay. I'm not sure why Excel is doing that. So we'll have to come back to that later. I'm going to add just, these without the quotation marks here. So unfortunately, I can't demonstrate adding them all in bulk because the quotations are being added. But if I pasted them all in here without the quotations, then as soon as I add them, you'll see that they show up over here. Now, you're probably wondering what these patterns are or what these asterisks are. That is for when you want to tell the search engine that it's okay to search for anything before that domain or a subdomain, such as resumes or bios or about, etc., and anything at the end of that, which could be other folders or other parts of the website. So subdomains and content inside the website. So this is searching basically everything in both sides of the URL. You don't have to do that when it's something like LinkedIn, but when you have websites, subdomains, and things like that, you do. Make sure that you label these as diversity so that later on you can apply that label. Unfortunately, I can't paste all of these, otherwise I would do it and just show you, but I do have other search engines that I can show you. For example, this one here is the sourcing and recruiting knowledge base. And in this search engine, there are over 100 websites that contain information about sourcing and recruiting. These are some websites you would recognize, like ERE. Some of them are cloud documents. Some of them are conferences, Recruiting Daily, etc. So this is essentially a search engine of recruiting sourcing wisdom with some labels. This will be in the notes, but the public URL is right there. Let me copy that, and hopefully I can still put that in the chat. If you want to actually use the knowledge base. But what you can see here is I've got a bunch of different websites, and I also have refinements that might give you a few ideas. This refinement is just for events, and in it, I'm using the keywords for events. This one is for blogs, this one is for presentations, and so on. And in synonyms, I have synonyms to help with job titles like leader, recruiter, sourcer, sourcing, and they're different keywords to identify. So leader, chief talent, CHRO, VP, etc. So that's one example. Here's another one. This one is people lookups. Now for this one, I did add search engine keywords because if you recall from the beginning, these keywords will help elevate results so that the results that have these words or phrases in them will come up first in my view. This one I also have searched the entire web. So even though I have 15 different people lookup websites here, I am searching the entire web. This is the different kind of search engine that isn't just restricted to those websites. The key, though, is that I'm using these keywords to elevate results. And also, I'm enforcing some rules around refinements and synonyms so that I'm not capturing everything. For example, this one is for resume. And this is using the knowledge graph. The knowledge graph for the content item that is called a resume. We can talk a little bit more about that. Then I have one for contacts, which searches only the websites that are contact information. So that is actually restricting to those 15 sites, not searching the entire web. There's a few other examples. And for synonyms, I have two things, basically, just the resume, and then I have one job title because I was doing a search for that. You can add other job titles here. So, for example, tax manager or nurse or RN, etc. But I have the one for resume here, so I'll show you what happens when we use resume. And I'm going to look in the resumes tab. There's still a lot of garbage in here, which we can exclude. But for that, I'm going to go back to setup and show you one other quick thing. Oh, looks like it did not. Here we go. Okay, so in this one, I want to exclude LinkedIn because I'm already searching LinkedIn with another search engine. So let me show you that. What happens is at the bottom of the sites to search, at the end of the sites that it shows you, which I believe is 10, you'll see an advanced. Clicking on the advanced brings up these sites to exclude. So this is the opposite of the above. This is like putting minus site colon, and you can eliminate websites. In this case, I eliminated everything that's on LinkedIn. To be more accurate, I probably should have used *linkedin.com / to make sure I definitely exclude everything, even the subdomains. So now it's really excluding everything. Another example that I want to share with you, and these are just examples so you can see what we can do with them. This one is specifically a LinkedIn people finder, but I have also added other networks, as you can see the label. And this one is searching LinkedIn.com, but it's using the label to narrow it down instead of using LinkedIn in and LinkedIn pub. The label is adding the search as an extra. These will all be in the notes, so you'll be able to use these later and play around with them. This is one of my favorites, and I actually use this very frequently. I colored it, which is in the settings. You can actually, in the advanced settings, you can change the color and add logos and things like that. That'll be in an advanced session that we talk about. But for now, just want to show you that I've highlighted it because this is, again, something that I use frequently, and I actually embed this in my websites. So inside of my CRM, I can add a widget that has a website, and I'm embedding that in that widget. So basically, it's a search engine right inside, or a custom search engine right inside of my CRM. But what I do want to show you about this, the guts of it, is this has 60 websites for all the different cloud documents, hosting places. And in addition to that, I do have refinements for example, specific spreadsheets, PowerPoints, PDFs, images. And I believe I had a couple of refinements here, like resume, which is a good one. Most of the time, I'm using this to find contact information, though. So I use the basic all-inclusive search with the label. So that's an example of a type of custom search engine. One more. This is my all-in, I call it my one source. One source meaning, this is supposed to be my all-inclusive search engine. It's got 200 websites. It also searches the entire web, and it's got a bunch of different refinements and synonyms. The trick with this is if you're going to do this, you're going to want to document the synonyms that you created, because otherwise, if you're sharing this for other people to use and they don't know what the synonyms are, they won't be able to use them. You can see I've got 48 different synonyms. What you can do is you can just make a notebook or just a Word document or something like a user guide, so that when people are using this custom search engine, they know what the keywords are that trigger these synonyms. So this is kind of like my go-to, and I'm constantly adding synonyms to it to make it better. There's two more that I want to show you. This one here is my quote unquote free resume search. These are all the software engineering places where you can find resumes, profiles, and the labels on this one are specific to resumes. So you'll see the refinements here, resumes, and then for the synonyms, you can put job titles or whatever you want. I've just got literally the word resume. So this is looking through all of these places where people have their profile, their bios. It's kind of like a resume search. It's not always resumes because CoderWall is not going to necessarily be a resume. But there's like About Me and those types of websites in there. And then finally, the last example is our basic LinkedIn search. So now you can see how we started building it and what the components are. Quick recap. We have, let's see if I can bring, there we go. How'd you like my logo? This will be for the title document. Anyway, just a quick recap. You have the ability to filter content from just a particular website or multiple websites, or all of the web using labels, refinements, and synonyms. Once you create it, you're going to apply your search criteria by using those labels and synonyms, and you can customize the look and feel. And then the last piece is you can invite other people. This is going to be covered in the advanced session, but you can invite people that can help you administer and construct the search engine. So you can collaborate with a team on creating the custom search engine behind the scenes. You're going to start with google.com/CSE, add a few websites, just start with one if that's all you want. Then you're going to create some synonyms. That's your ontology, your dictionary. Add some refinements and labels. Here's the link to OneSource, which was the big one that I showed you. And then you can start sharing it and editing it. For sites, include either only the sites that are in the list or the entire web. And the types of sites that you can include are social media sites, cloud hosting sites. That's where my search engine comes in here. For example, I have a search for all the dev sites. And let's see how many are in here. 102. These are all the software engineering websites, and you can pretty much copy and paste this. Well, apparently you can't anymore, but I thought you could copy and paste this. It's putting quotation marks on it. So I'm going to figure out how to fix that and show you next time. But that's a collection of dev sites. That could be your dev site custom search engine. It can also be a general custom search engine for the entire web, but with specific synonyms and refinements. And then finally, we have labels or refinements that drill down on a collection of websites or have additional searches. And we're going to dive deep on both of these topics next time. So you should have pretty much everything that you need to get started with a custom search engine. And if you have any questions, put them in the chat, or, well, you know how to find me. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook. Please join the Facebook group. That Facebook group, by the way, is right here. I'm going to put it on the screen there. Or if you just go to Facebook and look up the sourcing method, you'll find it. It's completely free, but right now, that's where we're hosting the documents. We're fortunate to have Glenn Guttmacher taking excellent notes and summarizing things. So we take advantage of that and turn that into a Word document along with the slides that you saw, and we upload it there. This is because it's, we just have one place. We are going to be migrating all of our videos and notes to a new system that I've launched that is on a platform specifically to host that kind of content, because I know a lot of you don't want to go to Facebook or don't want to use Facebook, and I get that. So for now, if you want, join the sourcing method and get the handouts. Otherwise, you'll have to wait until I announce, probably in the next couple of weeks, the release of the new destination that will host all of the materials and all the content. So that's pretty much it for custom search engines today. Next time, we'll dive deep on refinements and then synonyms, and then on the advanced tweaking like schema and other settings. And we'll see what happens after that. I hope everybody enjoyed today's session. Have a great weekend and stay safe. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.